The battle between Donald Trump and the judicial establishment in the United States. A political thriller of power, conspiracy, and justice. Chapter 1, The Secret Indictment. The cold January wind howled outside the Supreme Court as Chief Justice Michael Anderson received a classified document. The Department of Justice had just filed a sealed indictment against former President Donald Trump, alleging a conspiracy that could shake the foundations of the nation. But something wasn't right. Anderson knew that indicting a former president was dangerous, but this document suggested something more, a hidden network of power players working behind the scenes. The indictment mentioned an operation known as Project Liberty, something that had never been publicly discussed. Meanwhile, in his private Florida estate, Trump sat in his golden chair, scrolling through his phone. A notification popped up, "They're coming for you. Be ready." Chapter 2, The Shadow Court. At a hidden location deep in Washington, D.C., a clandestine group of elite politicians and judges gathered. They called themselves the Shadow Court, a secret faction within the legal system that had been influencing high-profile cases for decades. Their leader, a ruthless federal judge named Evelyn Carter, had one mission: ensuring that Trump never set foot in the White House again. "The trial must be swift," Carter said coldly. "We cannot allow him to escape justice this time." But as they plotted their move, a hacker named Spectre intercepted their communications. An anonymous patriot, Spectre had spent years uncovering government secrets, and now he had found something that could turn the tables, a leak that suggested the judiciary itself was compromised. Chapter 3, The Trial of the Century. The world watched as Donald Trump walked into the courtroom, surrounded by Secret Service agents. His lawyers, a team of the best legal minds in America, prepared for war. The charges were severe: election interference, financial fraud, and a secret collaboration with an unknown foreign entity. But as the prosecution presented its case, Trump smirked. He knew something they didn't: he had a hidden ace. Halfway through the trial, the power went out. In the darkness, a voice whispered through the courtroom speakers, "The real conspiracy is bigger than Trump. The real enemy is among you." The room erupted into chaos as a video began playing on every screen, exposing classified files linking high-ranking judges to offshore accounts and secret political deals. Chapter 4, The Assassin's Warning. That night, Evelyn Carter returned to her penthouse, shaken. She poured herself a glass of whiskey and turned on the news. Every channel was flooded with the leaked documents. Then she saw it. A red envelope on her desk. Inside, a single note read, "Silence him, or be silenced." She knew what it meant. The people behind the Shadow Court would not allow their secrets to be exposed. And that meant only one thing: Donald Trump had to disappear. Meanwhile, Spectre was on the run. He had sent the files to a trusted journalist, but now, black SUVs were tailing him through the streets of New York. He had one last move: meet Trump himself. Chapter 5, The Underground Deal. In a secret bunker beneath Mar-a-Lago, Spectre finally met Trump. The former president listened carefully, sipping his Diet Coke as the hacker laid out the truth. "There is a faction in the government more powerful than you ever imagined," Spectre explained. "They are not after you because of what you did. They're after you because you know too much." Trump leaned back, adjusting his red tie. "So, what do we do?" Spectre slid a USB drive across the table. "This contains everything. If we release it at the right time, we can destroy the Shadow Court forever. But they will try to kill you before that happens." Trump chuckled. "Let them try." Chapter 6, The Final Attack. The night before the final trial session, Trump's motorcade was ambushed. Black helicopters hovered above as masked gunmen opened fire. Secret Service agents engaged in a brutal firefight, but the attackers were professionals. Trump barely escaped with his life, thanks to Spectre, who had predicted the attack. They fled to a safe house, where they prepared for the final move, releasing the files live on national television. At that moment, Evelyn Carter received a call. A robotic voice whispered, you have failed. You know the consequences. She knew her time was up. The shadow court didn't tolerate mistakes. Chapter 7, The Revelation. The next morning, as millions of Americans tuned in to watch the trial's verdict, every news station was hijacked. The files were released in real time. Names, documents, recordings, proof that the very people prosecuting Trump were part of the biggest corruption scandal in American history. The Supreme Court had no choice but to halt the trial. Evelyn Carter was found dead in her apartment. The members of the shadow court vanished overnight. As Trump walked out of the courtroom, reporters bombarded him with questions. "What's next for you, Mr. Trump?" He adjusted his suit, smirked, and said, "We just made America great again." And with that, the biggest scandal in American history came to light, leaving the nation in chaos, and Trump more powerful than ever. The end.